I'm Phone meteorologist Kim Adams. The clouds are here and rain not far behind. Right now it's 39 downtown. I'll look at your travel forecast in a few minutes.
All right, Kim, also first at 4, striking casino workers share some reasons they voted no on a tentative deal, while MGM has a message for employees who are tired of walking the picket line. And here's Bill Jones.
The program that helps business owners in Southwest Detroit spruce up their storefronts is running out. The call to action to keep the program going.
Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon. I'm Karen Drew. First at 4, a split decision by Detroit's casino workers has really shaken things up for the city's gaming business. MGM Grand workers said no to a tentative contract and remain on the picket line this afternoon. But workers at Motor City and Hollywood at Greektown are back on the job after accepting their agreements. Some striking MGM workers tell Local 4 they didn't like the deal and felt the UAW rushed them to vote on Sunday.
I think they should have given us a little more time to review everything as opposed to saying, hey, this is what's going to be, vote on it right now.
We are hearing from others that felt rushed.
Absolutely.
Workers say they plan to be on the picket line this week on Thanksgiving with cold weather creeping in. The question is, will that have any impact on ending the strike? We are live at MGM at 5 with the answer to that question. MGM calls the result disappointing, released a statement saying in part, quote, we will continue to remain open and operational just as we have throughout the strike. And as has been the case throughout the strike, we will allow any employee who wishes to cross the picket line and return to work to do so. At this hour, it is a changing of the guard in the city of Warren like we haven't seen in 16 years. A new mayor is being sworn in, and longtime Mayor Jim Fouts has cleaned out his office. Here's a live look at the swearing-in ceremony. Lori Stone left the state legislature to take this job. She becomes Warren's first female mayor. We spoke with the new mayor, and we'll have more on this turning point in that city when you join us for Local 4 News at 6. Meantime, Fouts released a statement saying in part, quote, I'm able to say this was the best administration in history, not because of me, but because of the dedicated, hardworking leaders that I had the honor to work with. Again, I humbly thank all of those who helped to serve and protect the people of Warren. A Detroit man is facing several charges after a police chase and shooting that shut down I-94 in Detroit last Thursday, just as rush hour was starting up. 26-year-old Michael Adkins faces charges for fleeing, assault, and assault with a dangerous weapon. He's accused of crashing into several cars on the interstate. Adkins is being held on $500,000 cash bond after he was arraigned today. Now, this is what the scene looked like last week as we cover the story live first at 4. Warren police say it all started with that traffic stop that Adkins drove off, eventually hopping onto 94. Police say an officer opened fire as Adkins was still trying to push along the median wall. Adkins was shot in the arm but was soon released from the hospital. Road safety experts are offering some stark warnings to the many holiday travelers hitting the road this week here in Michigan. AAA expects 1.5 million Michigan residents to be traveling 50 miles or more this Thanksgiving. The Travel Service says it also expects to rescue more than 360,000 drivers nationwide who might get stuck during that trip. All the experts agree paying attention on the road is the #1 safety priority for drivers. They emphasized you must move over if you see someone in trouble on the side of the road.
It is your job as a driver to pay attention constantly when you're behind the wheel. You're driving, again, thousands of pounds of steel metal glass at too high speeds for the most part. And if you're doing anything other than driving, you really are risking your life, the family that's with you, and the lives of those who are working on the roads and their families. We want everyone to get home.
Now, according to the Emergency Response Safety Institute, over the past 5 years, an emergency responder is struck and killed on U.S. roads once every week. So obviously, we all need to be careful out there during the holidays and all the time. The other big travel question, will the weather cooperate? It's not too bad today. Folks in downtown Detroit are getting that holiday feeling with the beautiful tree on Campus Martius. Let's start looking ahead in our first forecast with Kim Adams. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Karen. Well, we do have one little hiccup earlier in the week with some rain, but then it's improving for the next several days. 40 degrees downtown, upper 30s at Metro, 37 in Pontiac, 39 in Mount Clemens, and 42 in Monroe. It's colder than it was yesterday by quite a bit, in fact, at this same time. 12 degrees colder at City Airport, 12 degrees colder at Metro, and 10 degrees colder out in Ann Arbor. Tomorrow, a couple things to notice here. We've got a lot of rain. In fact, some good soaking rain comes in the morning into the early afternoon and then tapering off as we get to the evening hours. We make it into the upper 40s, but the winds are going to be out of the east-southeast at 10 to 20, and that is definitely going to put an added chill into the air. Speaking of a chill, we've got some cold temperatures ahead for the first half of the weekend. We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Thanks, Kim. Heavy rain now becoming a factor in the suffering of people in Gaza trapped in the fighting between Israel and Hamas. Plus, another Palestinian hospital is under attack, even as premature babies are rushed to Egypt for medical care. Kimberly Gill tracking several storylines for us from our newsroom. Kim?
Hi, Karen. Good afternoon. Gaza's Indonesian hospital has become a new battle scene in the area. A medical worker and the Hamas-run health ministry says Israel fired a shell into the hospital's second floor, killing 12 people. Israel denies the claim, but says its troops returned fire on militants who fired at them from inside the complex. CNN received this video from the Ministry of Health that shows damage to the hospital. We're seeing the same conflict here that we saw at Gaza's biggest Al-Shifa hospital. Israel claims Hamas uses the facilities to launch attacks. Hamas denies it, but patients are definitely in the middle of all of this. Meanwhile, dozens of premature babies from Al-Shifa hospital have arrived in Egypt to get better medical care. In Gaza, they were being cared for without incubators that stopped working when fuel supplies ran out. Just look at those tiny little babies. They had to be moved so very carefully in their journey. Also, Karen mentioned heavy rain. I want to show you this video. United Nations aid workers say bad weather is making living conditions unbearable. This is video of people trying to walk around wet streets. Aid officials also say sewage is flowing freely in the area. There's only enough fuel for pumps to work at about 55% capacity. And finally, one more note to mention. NBC News has been reporting there might be a deal in the works to release some of those hostages taken by Hamas back on October 7th. However, we haven't heard of any breakthroughs, but we'll continue to bring you the latest and newest information when you join us for Local 4 News at 5 o'clock. Karen, we'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Kim. Services for former First Lady Rosalynn Carter will start next week after the long Thanksgiving weekend. The memorials begin on Monday, November 27th, with a wreath laying at Georgia Southwestern State University. Then Mrs. Carter's motorcade will travel to the Jimmy Carter Presidential Library and Museum in Atlanta, where she will lie in repose. On Tuesday, there will be a tribute service at Emory University for invited guests. Mrs. Carter's funeral will be held Wednesday in her hometown of Plains, Georgia. The former First Lady died Sunday. She was 96 years old. Here at home, Southwest Detroit is home to many thriving family-owned businesses. A community organization wants that to continue, but a program that's been helping these businesses improve their curb appeal is now in jeopardy. Local 4's Will Jones spoke to the Southwest Detroit Business Association about its efforts to save the program.
This is an eyesore, and this is exactly what the Southwest Detroit Business Association works to prevent. But their funding for their facade improvement program supporting small businesses in this community is running out.
All right. Thank you very much, Will. The Southwest Detroit Business Association is still accepting applications for its improvement program for 2020.
This is an eyesore, and this is exactly what the Southwest Detroit Business Association works to prevent. But their funding for their facade improvement program supporting small businesses in this community is running out.
Donut Villa has been operating out of a temporary location for 18 months nearby their building on West Verner Highway in Southwest Detroit that's undergoing major renovations. Gabriel Gutierrez is the owner.
It's a total remodel of the really entire building, but especially the facade. You know, this is the front of the building. It's what you want to be most inviting to the public and to the community.
Some of the exterior improvements are being funded by a $10,000 grant from the Southwest Detroit Business Association's Facade Improvement Program.
Then after receiving the grant, I was able to then dedicate some resources to open up this roof.
When you think of facade, a lot of people think, oh, well, it's just to make things beautiful or make them nice. Well, the reality is it's sustainability and longevity and support for these businesses. Sometimes you may have a 100-year-old building that needs maintenance, and a small business owner just doesn't have the capacity to do that.
Laura Chavez heads the SDBA. Back in March, the organization was told that its longtime corporate sponsors of the program are going in a different direction. Since then, the SDBA has been searching for new sponsors. She says funding for the program will last through next November.
We've been able to do about $3.4 million in renovations in Southwest Detroit and support these businesses for these last 17 years. But we can't stop. We need sustainable funding to continue to do this work.
Part of the issue, Chavez says, is getting donors to look beyond the surface. Without this program, some small business owners could be buried in city fines for compliance issues, which could lead to closures and then blight.
So there's a lot of different aspects, not just the financial support that we provide them, but also and I don't want to say the hand holding, but I'm going to say the hand up that we're providing to these businesses to really make sure they continue to thrive.
Renovations are wrapping up at Donut Villa. The donut shop will reopen next month. From Southwest Detroit, Will Jones, Local 4.
All right, it's pretty cool to see those changes. By the way, the SDBA still accepting applications for its facade improvement program for 2024, and that will be the last year the program is funded unless the association finds some new partners, which of course we hope that will be the case.